Your social media feed is lying to you about what it takes to actually become a runner.
Let's look closer at the truth behind those aesthetic clips and analyze why most people fail before they even finish their first week. Right now, platforms like TikTok and Facebook in Vietnam are saturated with slow-motion videos of sunrise jogs and perfectly coordinated outfits, creating a seductive illusion that fitness is just one inspiring song away.
You have likely scrolled past these moments and felt that sudden surge of motivation, thinking that if they can do it, you can too. However, we need to talk about the silent epidemic of the half-finished journey. We see it in the comments constantly, with netizens writing things like, "This is the sign I needed to start tomorrow," or "New shoes, new life."
But just a few days later, that excitement evaporates, leaving the expensive gear to gather dust. This happens because you are relying on a fleeting emotional high rather than a structural discipline.
When the morning air feels heavy and the camera isn't there to validate your progress, your brain naturally defaults to comfort. We often mistake a temporary spike in dopamine for a permanent change in character, but the reality is that motivation is a fair weather friend.
Let us peel back the layers of this digital hype and understand why chasing the feeling of being inspired is actually the quickest way to quit, as we find a better way to move forward.
Now, let's talk about that invisible wall you hit at 5 a.m.
We've all seen those relatable comments online where people admit, "My motivation is a superhero at midnight, but a ghost when the alarm actually goes off."
That's because your brain is a master of negotiation when it is cold and dark. You might be wondering why something as simple as picking out a shirt feels like climbing a mountain in the early hours. It is all about friction. For a newbie, every extra step, finding matching socks, locating your water bottle, or untangling laces, is a chance for your brain to say, "Not today." By preparing your gear the night before, you are not just being organized, you are eliminating the decision-making process entirely.
One community member perfectly captured this struggle, saying, "If I have to search for my shoes, I will just find my way back to sleep instead." We need to stop waiting for a miracle of willpower and start designing our environment to win.
When your running clothes are the first thing you see, the suggestion phase of your habit loop is triggered instantly, leaving no room for that lazy inner voice to argue.
You are not deciding to run anymore. You are just following the path you already paved for yourself the night before. Beyond the internal biology of the brain, we must look at how we anchor ourselves in reality through social commitment and structured objectives. You might wonder why even the most motivated individuals struggle to lace up their shoes on a rainy Tuesday. This is where the power of a running partner becomes your secret weapon for accountability.
Let's consider a typical netizen's perspective who recently shared a thought that resonated with many. "My alarm is useless, but knowing my friend is waiting at the park gate at 5 a.m. is the only thing that actually gets me out of bed."
It is about creating a social contract that is much harder to break than a personal promise. From a management perspective, successful leaders often view this discipline as a direct parallel to business efficiency.
They do not just run, they apply SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Instead of saying, "I want to get fit," they commit to running 3 kilometers in 20 minutes every Monday and Thursday for a month. This level of precision transforms a vague desire into a tactical roadmap, mirroring how top-tier executives maintain consistency in high-pressure environments.
By bridging the gap between social pressure and structured planning, you turn a fleeting impulse into an unbreakable professional standard. Step inside the cognitive laboratory for a moment, because to truly master the art of running, we have to look past the sweat and see the sparks flying in our neurons. You might wonder why that surge of motivation you felt yesterday evaporated by 6 a.m. today. Let's explore the internal machinery together.
Scientists have uncovered that our brains aren't built on fleeting inspiration, but on a rigid architecture known as the habit loop. It starts with the suggestion, or what researchers call the cue. Think about that common netizen comment we often see in fitness forums. "I stare at my sneakers for 20 minutes and then just crawl back into bed."
This happens because the cue isn't potent enough to trigger the automatic pilot.
When you prepare your running gear the night before, placing your shoes exactly where you will step on them, you are creating an undeniable visual command that initiates the next stage, the behavior. This is the physical act of running itself, but here is where the real mystery of the mind unfolds, deep within the basal ganglia. As you hit the pavement, your brain begins to process the reward. We often hear behavioral experts talk about dopamine, but let us look closer at its real function.
It is not just a reward for finishing, it is a chemical bridge that links the cue to the action for future use.
One viral post recently highlighted this perfectly, stating, "I do not run for the miles, I run for the silence in my head afterward." That silence, or the sense of accomplishment, is the brain's way of saying, "This felt vital. Let us remember exactly what led to this."
This internal feedback loop creates a neural pathway that becomes thicker and more efficient every time you repeat it. Many people mistakenly believe they lack willpower, but as we see in the lab, it is actually a matter of neurodesign. If the reward is consistent, your brain eventually starts to release dopamine the moment you see your shoes, anticipating the win before you have even broken a sweat.
We are essentially hacking our own biology to make discipline effortless.
By understanding the suggestion, behavior, reward cycle, we realize that maintaining a habit is not a battle of icons, but a symphony of well-timed triggers. You might be wondering why that initial resistance to lace up your shoes feels so heavy, almost like a physical weight holding you down.
It is because your brain is actually hardwired for what we call strategic laziness. From an evolutionary standpoint, our ancestors survived by conserving every possible calorie for the next hunt or to escape a predator.
When you are sitting on the couch, your ancient brain thinks it is doing you a favor by saving energy.
On social media, you will often see netizens commenting things like, "My spirit animal is a sloth," or "I am not lazy, I am just in energy-saving mode." But the truth is, your brain is not broken, it is just being incredibly efficient. This is exactly where the biohacking perspective comes into play.
Instead of fighting millions of years of evolution with raw willpower, which is a losing battle, we can use the suggestion, behavior, and reward loop to bypass the internal alarm.
By lowering the friction, such as placing your gear in plain sight, you trick that primitive survival instinct into thinking the task requires less energy than it actually does. We are essentially outsmarting a biological system designed for a world that no longer exists, turning our survival instincts into a high-performance habit. Now, let us dive deeper into why relying on that sudden burst of inspiration is actually the most dangerous mistake you can make.
You see, most people treat motivation like a guest they are waiting for at a party, but in the world of professional marathon running, we know that guest is notoriously unreliable.
You have probably seen comments online where people say, "I am just waiting for the right mood to hit me before I start my training." Or perhaps you have scrolled through fitness forums and found users complaining that their fire has gone out.
This is exactly the trap of the motivation-dependent mindset. Stoicism teaches us a different path, the path of radical acceptance of discomfort.
It is about realizing that your mind and your actions do not have to be in agreement for you to move forward.
When that 5 a.m. alarm rings and your brain starts negotiating, telling you that the bed is warm and the pavement is cold, that is where the battle is won or lost.
We often talk about preparing your gear the night before, and while it seems like a simple productivity hack, it is actually a profound Stoic practice.
By laying out your clothes, you are pre-deciding your actions, removing the need for a feeling to guide you. You are essentially telling your future self that the decision has already been made.
Many netizens argue that this sounds robotic or joyless, but let us look at it from another angle. Is there not a deeper joy in knowing you are no longer a slave to your fleeting whims? This connects directly back to the habit loop of suggestion, behavior, and reward. By using the sight of your shoes as the suggestion, you bypass the emotional filter and go straight to the behavior.
The reward is not just the endorphins, it is the quiet, powerful realization that you did what you said you would do, regardless of how you felt.
We must stop asking if we are motivated and start asking if we are following the system. Discipline is simply the act of remembering what you truly want, especially when you do not feel like doing it.
Now, let's pivot our focus to a group that truly masters consistency, the data-driven runners.
You have probably seen those heated debates in online fitness groups where someone comments, "If it is not recorded on your watch, the run simply did not exist."
While it sounds like a joke, there is a deep psychological truth behind it. In our habit loop of suggestion, behavior, and reward, technology serves as the perfect catalyst for discipline.
The subtle vibration on your wrist acts as the immediate suggestion to move.
Then, as you perform the behavior, your smart wearable begins translating every drop of sweat into precise, actionable data. This is where the magic of the instant reward happens. Instead of waiting months for visible physical changes that might feel discouragingly slow, you get an immediate hit of dopamine from seeing your VO2 max improve or your resting heart rate stabilize on a digital screen. We are essentially turning the abstract concept of discipline into a tangible, addictive game.
By tracking every kilometer, you are providing your brain with the concrete evidence it needs to believe in your own progress, making the habit stick far longer than any fleeting wave of motivation ever could. It is about transforming those cold numbers into your most reliable personal cheerleader, ensuring that every step you take is validated and accounted for in your long-term journey toward a healthier self. So, as we bring all these pieces together, let's look at the bigger picture of what we've discovered.
Many of you in the comments have often shared, "I start strong for a week, then life just gets in the way." This is exactly why we must move beyond the fleeting nature of motivation.
We have explored how something as simple as laying out your running gear the night before isn't just a chore, but a crucial psychological cue that reduces decision fatigue.
By setting SMART goals, you aren't just aiming for a finish line. You are feeding your brain the small rewards it craves to keep that habit loop of suggestion, behavior, and reward spinning.
Whether you are finding a running partner to share the road or refining your personal neural pathways, remember that discipline is not a punishment.
It is the ultimate form of self-control that transforms running from a difficult item on your to-do list into an inseparable part of your identity. In the end, your progress isn't measured by a single fast sprint, but by the quiet, disciplined consistency that turns a simple daily act into a sustainable, lifelong journey for everyone.